Life is literally a magical adventure. And if you're not living it, you're not able to recognize that this is a game amongst games, there is a reason for that. And I'm going to share with you why that is. You see, if you can agree with me now that we are spiritual or eternal beings here in a physical experience, then this is something that you want to pay attention to. Okay? Because we have been, of course, programmed and we have been hijacked in our minds, in our bodies, in our hearts, in our souls to really get lost within the games of others. And you see, we haven't been taught that we are here playing these games. And in fact, we've been indoctrinated further and further each step as we go throughout our lives into these games, losing ourselves and why we are here. So it's no coincidence that many of us are struggling, mentally, physically, and emotionally because we have not been encouraged to play the real game as eternal beings. And in fact have been losing ourselves, manipulated, controlled, misinformed to play the games and serve the needs and desires of others. So here, we're going to look at why this is. Firstly, by recognizing this indoctrination process, of course, starting as very young children, coming into this world, often being born in hospitals, taken away from our mothers, immediately feeling scared, immediately consumed by fear. And so therefore we're already losing touch with our nature, we're losing touch with our mothers, we're losing touch with the love that we are. So we're already being disconnected from nature, disconnected from ourselves. And of course, more and more we're disconnected from nature and our natural ways of living as we're sent through schooling systems at very young ages, further indoctrinated to follow and do what we're told, as opposed to being encouraged to know for ourselves what it is we want in life, to know what it is that makes us happy, to further understand our interests and our passions and really what inspires us. As we're all such unique individuals, we cannot be placed within any certain box, and yet we have been forced to sit literally within a box and guided step by step through the schooling system, grade by grade, to eventually graduate and think, next I can get a career and I can continue down this path, and one day when I am able to, I can retire and be free. But now we're seeing more and more this illusion because we're recognizing this generation that followed this step by step, many of which had careers or professions where they were able to have the support of a steady income and stability, in which we were seeking this security because of these underlying fears that we have. We get to that point to retirement and we're seeing more and more people, like statistically, people are dying within the first couple years of retirement because they have no reason to live anymore. They have no reason to be on this planet. So here, now, we're waking up further and further, especially what's happening since this whole pandemic that's occurred starting in 2019. We can see how the systems are set up to essentially enslave us. And to recognize the power that we have, we are being enslaved, of course, by our own fears. And of course, we've been seeking security and holding on to any sense of peace that we can find outside of ourselves without going through the internal fears. So naturally, we have lost this sense of adventure. We've lost this sense of excitement and passion. More and more, we're sleeping, becoming like zombies, and just like needing to shut down emotionally and mentally because it really is so painful. We've gotten further and further away from our natural ways of being, and therefore, naturally, we suffer because of it. And so, this idea of 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, for example, which many people live by, or clocking in and clocking out their time for money, is very much contracting and suppressing our souls and our heart's desires to the point where some people, and you could say many of us actually, reach the point where we're considering suicide, thinking that we would be better off if we're not alive because it's just too painful, too unbearable. So, of course, this is all a natural stage of evolution that's occurring and unfolding. So it takes time for us to realize for ourselves as individuals that it's not working. It's really not working. So, yes, we may have bought into these games and lost this sense of adventure and joy in life. And yet, we still have the chance to take our power back to recognize, hey, this is not working. I want to choose differently. So here now, we can share with you what that can be, because firstly, we need to recognize what is this ultimate game that we're here to play as eternal or spiritual beings in this physical experience. You can see that more than anything else, we are here to learn, to grow, to evolve to higher states of consciousness, more and more towards the state of that of creation, of God, of the Creator, and that of which is in our natural state of being, in which we are infinite in our power and possibilities. So, as we learn and grow and evolve more and more, then naturally we bring more light, more love, more awareness onto this planet, and therefore support the next generation to come in at a higher state and maintain that higher state, and they too can evolve and take us higher and higher. And of course, right now we are at such a powerful time because we are transforming so much as the energy on our planet is elevated to a state that our consciousness and our levels of self-awareness have evolved so much that we cannot continue the same ways as the old, because it's so painful that we must break through that barrier. We must break out of this box that we ourselves have put ourselves in unconsciously. And now, in our consciousness evolving, we need to free ourselves and to recognize what is the game that we're here for. So we can only really learn, grow, evolve, and expand to this greater realization of who we actually are through our experience. And this is one of the challenging parts right now, because we are literally in this age of information where we are consuming so much knowledge, some of it, great ancient wisdom, and yet we become addicted to wanting more information, and our minds are just going off, but yet we're not always willing to take the steps in our life. Often it's the most simple, practical steps that we need to take, and yet we tend to try and avoid those things because it requires us to step out of the box, out of our comfort, out of this area of life which is all that we know essentially, if it's all that we lived. And yes, some of us might have stepped out for a little bit, maybe gone on a little trip, out of the box and been like, wow. And yet we return and are very quick to fall back into the old patterns and the old dependencies on the systems that are in place and serving us to a certain level, supporting us to continue forward, but holding us back at the same time of actually evolving further towards, recognizing the purpose that each of us have as humans to bring love and light into this world. So it's very easy to fall back and, we can continue to trick ourselves in many different ways and avoid taking these steps more and more, and even confusing ourselves what is right, what is wrong, but because we have like so much information, so many ideas coming in from different people, often like in contrast to one another, and so we ourselves can be so polarized and like wanting to move forward but afraid to move forward, and should I do this, should I not do this, and just constantly questioning, again lost in our minds, lost in our thoughts, and unable to listen to the guidance of spirits and to follow our hearts and souls towards that of which we truly desire to be living. So we still have this opportunity. So again, recognizing what is the real game that you came here for, what is the reason that you're here on earth, and are you able to find the courage to move forward, to step into that, to recognize the great adventure that you're living, and to be willing to face your fears and go beyond them further and further, to self-actualize, to self-realize yourself as a being of infinite potential, as a god, as a goddess here, able to give back to life as life is giving to us this perfect opportunity. This is the golden opportunity that we came here for, to live, to love, to experience, to explore this great adventure of life here on Earth, this beautiful planet. It's a playground, it's a school, it's whatever it is you want to envision it as. This place and this life holds it all for you, and just for you alone, because it's your universe that you are creating. So rather than losing our sense of adventure because we are staying back in our comfort zone, remaining in the box, we have the chance, of course, to bust out of it and to start living once again, to start realizing this opportunity that you have and that all of us have to experience what we came here to experience. So yes, it takes courage. Yes, it takes patience. It takes love. It takes commitment, determination, focus. It takes all of it. And that's the best part about it. We are being asked now in this life to become our own masters, to become our own gurus, to understand ourselves and to not depend upon others to understand us, not depend upon others approving or loving us, because it is already all within us. So here we go. How does this look? Now we want to come back to living out our dreams, living out our visions, and recognizing this process that we are moving through. So I'm going to break it down to 4 parts that I'll share with you as it aligns with ancient wisdom and many different teachings, and something that I've had to learn myself as I've journeyed the last 10 years as a global nomad, really jumping into the unknown, traveling around the world on one-way tickets, just wanting to live off of nothing but my faith. Learning to trust and restore this trust in myself so that I can not only trust in myself and trust in others, but really trust in the universe. So in doing this, I've really integrated also the 4 parts of the ancient medicine wheel, which comes from many traditions, but in particular, the natives from North America and from Canada, where I'm from, you will notice the 4-part medicine wheel, right? And how this applies here now, I'll share with you. The first stage of life and of the cycle of life is that of which we are able to recognize, firstly, our needs. Coming back to the practical elements and the physical components of our body and what we need for an environment to really support us. You know, sometimes this includes how much money we might need. Sometimes this includes like the food that we need, the lifestyle that we want to live. And of course, it being the start of the cycle, what we can do each and every day to start on a good path. So this daily routine, the morning ritual that you might develop for yourself, all of these different components are key to being able to build a solid foundation within ourselves and within our lives. So once we're able to then feel the ground, feel the earth, feel enrooted, we're then able to move forward towards our dreams and our visions, because we're no longer in survival mode. We're no longer easily manipulated and controlled. We're no longer in fear, because we recognize, I am at peace. I'm at peace within myself, and I know that life itself is supporting me in all these different ways. We know that Mother Earth is giving us everything that we need, as she already gives us everything we have. So therefore, we're able to recognize, we are safe, and we are able to be clear in our minds. What is it that we actually desire? What is it that makes us happy? And in the second stage, we're able to begin taking steps, taking actions towards that of which we desire, that of which we love, that of which we enjoy. And in doing so, of course, we step further and further towards these dreams, these visions, and we end up to a stage that we've never been before. Maybe we've stepped now out of the box and into the unknown. And this is when it gets very interesting, of course, because now we're going to recognize our fears are coming up, our doubts are arising, and all of our limiting thought beliefs and patterns might be coming up. So we're having to be aware of these things. Rather than avoid them, be willing to go through them. Do you know what I mean? So this is the key, not just to living the life we want to live and creating the life we want to live, but more so internally releasing these fears by recognizing we are safe and we are free. So, how do we do this? Often, of course, it is in relation to our inner child or our experience as children that these deep fears are coming up. You know, our experiences as young babies and toddlers and children and adolescents, each and every stage as it's being replayed out throughout our lives, even as adults, is bringing us back to these key components. And what you will notice here is the ultimate fear, as we all have this core wound or fear that is essentially a door or a gateway that we have to pass through, not just once, not just twice, but likely over and over again as you see life is in cycles and you think, I already went through this. I already dealt with this fear or this trauma or this problem, But again, it's back. Why? It's natural that the further we go higher to evolve, that we also have to go deeper and deeper into this healing, into this deprogramming and reprogramming to realign, to realize that we are that of truth, we are that of love. So it is a deep, forever ending process throughout our lives. So rather than again resist it or avoid it, when we're in a difficult situation or it's like really triggering us or really like bringing up this fight or flight or freeze like reaction, that we can instead actually take a breath, hold ourselves, speak with our inner child, support ourselves to take that step forward and not to run away, because it's in these moments that things seem impossible. Things seem like the most difficult than ever, the most scary as ever, that actually you're so close to breaking through it. But of course, naturally, we want to just like go the other direction. So we are going through that door, through that portal again and again and again and seeing, wow, actually, there is nothing to be afraid of. And it is only fear itself that we need to be afraid of, or need to recognize that it can no longer hold us back anymore. So we can continue forward through this, to follow our hearts, to follow our souls, and understand in the next stage, what is it that I'm learning here? What is it that I'm having to learn, having to express, having to embody and integrate? You see, life is beyond perfect. And so it is always teaching us, always supporting us, not to just like give us whatever we want, however we want it in our minds, but to provide our hearts and our souls with the ultimate experience, to be constantly learning and growing. So this is the adventure that you're here for, and the willingness to live out this adventure, to continue through the unknown, is really where the gem, the gold exists, because it's allowing us to awaken to this truth more fully and more completely. And so this is why we are here. And often you'll see people, we want to turn back to what we know. And what's occurred on our planet, most people are not able or willing to pass through the fear. And yet this is where we are in the cycle of humanity. It's like this changeover from the mental, the age of information and technology, into the spiritual, which is this last cycle and the stage of the elder. So we literally have this opportunity to break through to the other side, and we talk about like moving into the fifth dimension and being able to embody and enroot heaven on earth. It's because we are in this age of Aquarius that's also talked about, and yet it's painful because it's exposing our fears, it's exposing our doubts, it's exposing our shadows like crazy. And so again, to move forward beyond it is the key, and to further embody this truth in which we came here to do. And so of course, when we're able to do this, life of course enters into a new cycle, and we begin a new phase, a new era, and start this 4 stages all over once again. But the key of course is to recognize the importance of following what's in your heart and your soul, not following what you've been told to be doing, told to be living, if it's not working, then there's a reason for it, and you need to come to know yourself. You need to know what is real for you, what makes you happy, what gives you purpose to your life, and to be able to see things from the all-knowing space in which we are able to trust the best that we can through each and every experience, to trust that life is supporting us, to trust that we are able to move forward and beyond everything that we thought was possible. So we are free to play this game. We are free to recognize the adventure that we are here on our planet for. And so if you want to go further into this adventure and you feel that you could use some support, some guidance along the way, feel free to connect with me or to check out this website, ur-magic.com, so that you can gain further guidance as I am releasing an online program, The Adventures of Rainbow Unicorn, where you too can be a part of not only the adventure but also the prophecy